All right. Oh man, that's weird. It's not even looking at me. All right. Well, hello and welcome to the first episode of Thicc Daddy Dollar Interviews or Talks or whatever the fuck I'm gonna call this shit. Basically, I'm gonna start doing a segment of interviewing different people. Kind of talk about things they want to talk about, let them introduce themselves. For like those of you who have not seen, you know what I'm saying, whatever. I actually have a general note list with me of all the shit I'm going to discuss. Basically, all I'm going to give you today for this is going to be an introduction to myself. You know what I mean? Some of you know, a lot of you don't. You know what I mean? Some of y'all are young, some of y'all are older in the game. Those of you older in the game know me more than the younger ones, right? So I'm pretty much just gonna go through, like I said, my general history and all my shit. Technically, I'm supposed to be interviewing myself, the man in the mirror. That's that guy right there. What's up, baby? Joe Byron. Take me out to dinner. You heard? So basically, we gonna get into this shit like how it is. So in the future, hopefully, we're gonna start doing this more often. Bring you different people that I know. Maybe do a couple other people I don't know per se, or like whatever, but we'll see where it takes us. This ain't like a full-time gig. I'm still trying to do all my normal shit as usual, but this is something that is an idea to get into. So without further ado, this is episode, interview, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, one with the man in the mirror. What's up, baby? Joe Byron. So I'm gonna start with, like I said, I have to go through this because there's so much shit. And everything I talk about in here, just imagine I asked myself the question first, hey, introduce yourself, and go from there, whatever. I have all the key points here so that way I don't ramble too much. It's gonna be rambling, this is gonna be a long video, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna try throwing a light little beat in the background, get y'all fucking ready and wet. I said witty and red, same thing, whatever. Yeah, so what's up? Man in the mirror, what's my name? Thicc Daddy Dollaz. That's my motherfucking name, biscuits. So I'm originally from Connecticut. I'm old as fuck. How old am I? Old enough to be your daddy, but young enough to fuck your mama. So keep that in mind, you wanna talk that shit. I come from up north originally, and I got into skateboarding and BMX. I'd say like anybody that's in the drifting or potentially car world, you know what I'm saying? As a kid, skateboarding and BMX were the cool things you could do at the time because you're younger, you don't have cars, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So like, we did a lot of that shit up there, you know what I mean? So I think that is where all my custom car life or love comes from, because like with skateboards and BMX bikes, you had different color bike frames. Like this one's chrome, this one's fucking anodized blue, that one just all raw aluminum. Like you had like the cool colors, and like with the bike shit, you could always change your pedals, your spokes, your rims, your cranks, like you can change your sprockets. You're changing like all kinds of shit, and you could do anodized blue or red. Like typically back in the day, that was the colors, blue or red. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was actually really cool. So I think with skateboarding, it's the same thing. You can mix match different trucks with different wheels, different bearings, different board designs, different types of decks. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all sorts of shit. It's not like you're just like, oh, skateboard, let's go. And same thing with the BMX shit. It's not like, oh, BMX bikes, they're all the same, let's go. That's like saying all cars are the same. You have minivans, you have Ferraris, bikes, skateboards, same shit. You have different types of different things. Right, well, whatever, right? So I live in Connecticut, and as a youngin', I done moved to Florida. So I love Connecticut, it's the shit, but it's cold. So I'm glad that I moved to Florida, because all year round I can do this car shit 24/7. And Connecticut and all the northern states that be snowing and all that bullshit, you have like a 6-month window of just doing everything you can, and then you just get fucked by weather, and you go, man, I'd love to go outside today, but I gotta shovel 5 feet of shit on my driveway today. Boom, whatever, you know what I mean? So with all that, you know what I mean, For my love of cars, I actually first got into lowriders. I think lowriders are cool as fuck. They're just, I mean, you're on juice, you're fucking riding up on 3, you're fucking hopping the cars, like you're doing a bunch of cool shit, and the paint's cool, you know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, technically speaking, everybody's in the same type of wheel, but that's the kind of weird thing is like, even though you're on the same type of wheel, that's just part of it, you know what I mean? So the lowrider shit was dope as fuck, and I always thought as a young teen I was gonna have a lowrider. Turned out not to be the case because Fast and Furious 1 came out and I said, oh shit, that's dope, I wanna do that. And then soon after I got my driver's license, and soon after that I ended up getting a Honda. So my first car, technically my first vehicle was a minivan, you know what I'm saying? Parents like, oh, we have this minivan, you can drive it. And I'm like, thanks, sick. And then I got lucky, some dumbass girl totaled that van, we used that money, bought a Civic, boom, been getting tickets ever since. So the funny thing about is the Civic is that when we finally got the money for the van getting totaled, I got the Civic, it was like a month later, I got my license suspended because driving the Civic. And at the age of 17, I got like 8 tickets, and yeah, I had to suspend a license the entire time I was 17. And then, you know, you got my license back at 18, and then I got a shitload of tickets, you know, whatever. Like on paper, I think I still have mid-20s tickets, like a mid-20s range, and I had a lot of tickets, a lot of court days. Ended up having a lot of tickets wiped for, you know, being in court and like saying, oh, you have 4 tickets. And I'm like, sick. Well, we'll knock off 2 of them. All right, thanks, Judge. I appreciate that. You know, so like on paper, on the system now, I think I have in like the mid-20s, but in reality, I think I have like the mid-30s. I got a lot of shit, got into a lot of trouble, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be real, that shit sucks. The amount of money you spend paying lawyers and court fees and whatever other bullshit they be coming up with, that shit sucks. So getting caught, you gotta do this. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta spend the money if you don't get caught, right? Right. So anyways, Fast and Furious 1 comes out. I say, yo, lowriders are tight and all, but this Honda game shit is fucking wild. That shit's sick. And that was the import days. That shit blew up. This is before eBay. You know what I'm saying? So like when you wanted parts, you went to your local hot rod shop to go buy shit. And there wasn't that many. You know what I mean? You could get the V8 shit all fucking day. Everyone and their mom's brother had fucking Chevy 350 headers and parts, whatever, fucking laying around all for, nah, fuck all that bullshit. The import game was jumping, and I was right there, early to late teens, jumping in with it, you know what I mean? So it was cool, you know, and back in those days, back like 2002, I'd say I learned about drifting in Initial D. I thought that was really cool, but the Honda game just really was what popped it off, you know what I mean? Everyone was doing the Honda shit was dope. And then like, again, with like the BMX and the skateboard shit, you had a lot of customization. Especially, you know, with the fucking neons and the whatever, but back in those days when you built a car, you didn't just build a car of like, oh, I have coilovers and wheels, I'm fucking so cool. No, it wasn't like that. Building a car meant you customized everything. You had the body kit on the outside with the shaved this and the fucking done up that with the different headlights, different taillights, wheels, suspension, and then you're like, yeah. And then your interior would also get full out done, and you would do speakers, and you would do this, and you'd do that, and you'd fucking get it all your interior rewrapped in like blue leather and some other fucking bullshit, and like fully customize everything. And that's how it was back in the day. That was what a build truly is, where today, you know, y'all young cats out here with that shit of, oh yeah, here's my build, and it's a fucking set of airbags and wheels. That's not a fucking build, that's a daily driver. You know what I mean? Not to upset some of y'all, but that's a fucking daily driver. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, if I bought a brand new GTR right now and I put coilovers and wheels on it, that's not a build, my guy. Oh, there's exhaust on there too. Yeah, and a tuner. No, that's not a fucking build. That's a daily driver. You know what I mean? So, I'm not gonna keep going today. I'm gonna keep this going for y'all. Try to give y'all the full, like, you know, general full background. You know what I'm saying? So, all that shit happened. I got big into the street racing scene, and that's actually where I met Mark Slot. So meeting Marks a lot, you have to understand, back in them days, there was no MySpace yet. Or MySpace was like just coming out roughly, right? So there was no MySpace, you know what I'm saying? That's how far back I'm taking this shit. You know what I'm saying? So if you saw someone with a sick ass car, you chased them the fuck down and go, yo, what up? You know what I'm saying? And like from there, that's how you met people. Or you'd go to the car meet or whatever, wherever it may be, and you'd fucking pull up and then you just talk to people and like meet people. You know what I mean? So like it was, you know, that was pretty cool back in the day. And I actually met Marks a lot. Is that the company I work for, he works for, which I actually, yeah. So anyways, the company he and I work for now, he worked for fucking years ago. And every time I drive by that place, I'd see his Civic out front. And at the time, nobody was dumping cars on the fucking ground, and I loved it because of lowrider shit. Lowriders would fucking be dead flat on the ground looking sick. You know, mini trucking shit was big back then too. You know what I mean? It's like, it was cool shit. And he was the only motherfucker I ever saw dumping Civics like I liked. And I'm like, yo, this motherfucker's dumping this shit. Ended up fucking meeting him on the side of the road, whatever. And then like, we weren't friends right away, you know what I'm saying? I met him, and then like after that, you know, found his shop, randomly found his shop, you know what I'm saying? And from there, just kept stopping by, hanging out, whatever. And like, that was a very, very, very long time ago. So all that happened, that's cool, whatever. And you know, back in them days, all the street racing, you had your little camcorders and shit. There wasn't no flip phone, let me just open my phone real quick and record this. You didn't have flip phones just yet. You didn't have cameras on phones yet. You know what I'm saying? It's like you record it on a video camera. And if you put your shit on the internet, like you had to like figure it the fuck out, how to get it from your camera to your computer. What cables can I put from here to here? And then your computer didn't just have software to be doing whatever. You'd have to figure out how to download what software to get from here to there, and then convert the video from this file to this file. Yo, shit was wild, right? So that was like back in them streetfire.net days, boy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know about that shit unless you're older. You know what I'm saying? Street Fire was where all the fire ass shit was going on. All the street racing, all the sick shit, everyone doing their shit. That was the cool shit. It was before YouTube also. So, you know, back in the day, like even the car scene was different, you know what I'm saying? Coming up the car scene, I remember like my mid-teens, car shows were, like there'd be so many cars, it's retarded. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey yo, relax. Got the cats in here and the dogs in here, everybody's in here with me. So back in the day, the car scene, like even the car scene, like you pull up to the car show, you had everything. Like everything showed up. You had lowriders, you had the Honda joints, you had, you know what I'm saying, the mini trucker joints, you had the lifted trucks, you had the fucking guys on dubs. Like back in the day, if you had dubs, like you were popping back in the day on dubs. So you had the sound guys, you had the dub guys, and like a car meet would have like 200 fucking people, like on a Friday night, regular ass fucking night, and parking lots would be fucking packed. And if your shit wasn't sick, you motherfucker, I'm talking about you. If your shit wasn't sick, you would park that shit in the fucking back corner because you were embarrassed to pull your shit up. You know what I'm saying? And the vibes were just different, yo. Like, you had a sick ass car, like no matter what the build was, you'd pull up like, yo, cool, here's my shit. You'd be like, oh shit, that's fucking dope. If your shit was raggedy, if your shit was beat and busted, like when I had my GTR multicolored, yeah, I'd park that motherfucker in the back like, yo, please don't look at my car back there, but I want to come hang out in this fucking cool ass meet and look at all these sick ass cars. Like that shit was real shit, you know what I mean? So like just the whole shit was different, you know? Back in the days, there were a bunch of import shops that opened up around here, and you know, you would kind of pick a shop, and that shop would be like your squad, your crew, your whatever. So like when you'd go out racing, you'd see the other shop, it'd almost be like, you know, Crips and Bloods type shit. You see somebody else like, what's up, Playboy? You know what I'm saying? And you would race other shops, and like money would get taken on the streets. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these are 9-second cars. You know, these are fucking 13, 14-second car Hondas and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But like, it was still fast, you know what I'm saying? It was still cool. Like if you had a Honda and you could crack a fucking low 13, you were dumb fast, you know what I mean? And if you're spraying, you could crack in the 12s. Like if you're in the 12s in a Honda, like back in them days, if your car was doing 12s, yo, you could swing your fucking dick from fucking roof to roof with how big that was if you could do 12s back in the day. You know what I mean? So like, whereas today, like my girl's super stock does 12s. You buy a Hellcat or a Scat Pack, like you're doing 12s. You know what I mean? Like you buy like a regular car today and you're fucking doing 12s. So like, it's, I don't know, man, like just a whole different vibe back in the day than it was today. And the information was different because, like I said, there was no Facebook, you know, like you had MySpace, but like MySpace was just like, you had your top 8 friends and you just had like a little bio about yourself, your little dumbass song, and like your little cool color combination. You kind of like wrote about yourself, and then people would just like write on your wall, and you just have conversations like back and forth, really. Like that's kind of like the gist of MySpace, you know what I'm saying? Okay. I got 2 different tea bags in there. Mix it up, shit's really good. So, you know, like I said, back in the day, shit was wild, shit was different, you know what I'm saying? We did a lot of street racing, did a lot of learning, you know what I'm saying? That was my car days where I was real ignorant, real young, had no fucking idea, you know what I mean? And I had a little single cam Honda Civic hatchback. That was my very first car. I had a 2000 Civic hatchback. Got it for really cheap back in the day. That was back when the car was actually only 3 years old is when I got the car. And everyone's like, oh man, how'd you get one of those? And like this, that, and the third. I'm like, yo, like the car's 3 years old, like 137,000 miles on it because the guy lived in Cocoa Beach and drove to Orlando every day. And he bought the car brand new. When I bought the car, it came with no radio and no speakers. It was a CX, so it had to crank fucking windows, had no power steering. It had an AC in it, you know what I'm saying? It was bone stock. And I learned how to drive, it was manual. And I learned how to drive manual that day. I couldn't even drive manual. Like, we would go street racing, and like if I got to race someone's car, I could race manual because like you would just dump the clutch and just give it gas. So like you didn't have to like feather it out. Like I'd stall shit all the time driving homies' cars like here and there and shit, you know what I'm saying? So that day I bought that car, I learned to drive manual that fucking day. And then back in them days, you didn't go on Craigslist or Marketplace and be like, oh, I wonder what kind of cars are for sale or different websites. Your website was Auto Trader magazine. So you'd go to the local gas station and you'd open up the magazine and you'd see what dealerships or what people personally selling their shit in the magazine. And they would come out to your house, take photos of your car, and it'd be like X amount of money, black and white photo, small little print, boom, 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 and that's all you got. And anybody spent the big bucks had their shit on the color pages and they had more information on their shit. You know what I'm saying? Wild shit, yo. I could go into so much fucking detail, like so much shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, him, the guy in the mirror, not me. You know what I'm saying? I'm interviewing him. You know what I'm saying? So, what else? Hold on. I'm looking at the notes, and my cat's playing with the fucking ball right now. Whatever. Gotta sip the tea, boy. What do we got here? Okay. So, that was life then. And then at the age of 20, I moved out of my parents' house. And I actually changed the outlook of life back then because when I was younger, you know, as a dumbass teenager, you know, you'd be angry and shit for no reason, like all this dumbass shit, like, you know, be extra, you know, for no fucking reason. And when I was younger, had some events happen and it just flipped the switch, changed my outlook on life. And I go, yo, fuck being angry, fuck giving a fuck about all the bullshit. All I want to do is the shit that I want to fucking do, which I get it. We all have to work. I understand that. But I used to go street racing on Thursdays, go hitting road course type shit on the street on Fridays, and go back to street racing Saturdays. And I worked 6 days a week, and I would be up till 2 and 3 in the morning and still going to work the fucking next day. You know what I'm saying? Like, we went hard as fuck back in them days. You know what I mean? We were like every weekend out racing. If you didn't go out racing, 10 people you fucking knew would fucking text you like, yo, you coming out? Yo, you coming out? No, man, I'm not coming out tonight. You know what I'm saying? Trying to save some money. Yo, someone's out here. Let's do this shit. You're like, oh, fuck. Next thing you know, you're leaving your house at midnight and you're staying out till 2, 3 in the morning again. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the fucking time we did this shit. So anyways, jumped off the porch. I want to say jumped off the porch at 20. Left my parents' house, you know what I'm saying? I had my own place, whatever. And from there, I just had my little Civic and my place, and I was broke as fuck. Actually, I've always been broke. I've actually been broke this whole time, believe it or not. It looks like I'm rich, I'm fucking broke as shit. So, you know, out there doing all that shit, whatever. And I had a B16, JDM B16 SAR2 motor in my Civic, and I put JDM GSR cams in it. And you know, just I worked at a performance shop, local performance shop, and it's crazy because like before I was out of high school and nothing like that, I wanted to work at this shop. Oh man, this shop's fucking cool, whatever. And then I ended up fucking working there. And I ended up working there for a total of 7 years. So working there is where I learned to work on cars, you know, and I'm not fucking a master at any one thing, but I can take a whole car apart and I can put it back together the first time. Not the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, the fucking first time. And that's an important thing, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's kind of important, because like you can throw a car together and then you drive on the road and oops, didn't tighten my fucking axle bolts and my hub bolts. Now my fucking whole hub's falling off with the wheel in it and shit. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, not that I didn't make mistakes along the way in learning and shit. Obviously everyone's gonna learn, you're gonna make mistakes, but I got lucky to be taught by a teacher that taught me how to do things right and well. You know what I mean? There's shit that I did, like my wiring was right, but like I didn't make everything look visually good. So like when I did like my own wiring from my own car, it looked like fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always had these ideas like, oh, if I do these external wires, I should leave them external in case I ever have to change them again. It's like, no, like I should have just did it, made it look nice and right the first fucking time without being a fucking retard. You know what I'm saying? So like, the ideas you have when you're younger versus older are, you know, very different. You know what I mean? So, you know, I had my little Honda Civic, and I actually blew it up, and ended up getting a Grand Marquis. So I drove that for like 2 years and went to school and all a bunch of bullshit, which school never really ended up working out for me anyways. Typical, you know, whatever. So I worked at the performance shop for years. Grand Marquis ended up blowing up, sell that shit, bought a JDM B16B, did, you know, the basic shit to it, you know, tune, intake, exhaust, had stock header on there, as stupid as that was, JDM GSR cam, adjustable cam gears, aluminum crank pulley, you know what I'm saying, like single belt, you know what I'm saying, no power steering, no AC, all that dumbass shit. Try to be as light and as fast as possible. It's a fucking Honda Civic. I don't care if it weighs 23 or 2,600 pounds, with interior or without, it's fucking slow. If it ain't turboed, if it ain't fucking K-Series, it's fucking slow. But back then, that's like, being the underdog was the cool shit. Like, oh man, you know, like, I gotta, you know, I'm a single cam guy forever because I want to be the underdog and beat the big dogs up. It's like, you could just go fast and not do that too. You know what I'm saying? So, had a lot of that, you know, shit back in the day, whereas today, you know, I'm just like, yeah, you could be the underdog, you could just buy the shit that'd be working like how you want it to work to begin with. You could do that too, you know what I mean? Leave it alone, Shiba. Thank you. Anyways, I recommend y'all drink tea, by the way. So, ended up, so my very first Civic, ended up crashing it on the way to work one day because some girl pulled out in front of me across the street, totaled the car, and I was upset. I never ever planned on selling my first Civic ever type shit. An even crazier story. I crashed that car in 2006 or 7, totaling that car. Sold it to the insurance company, they took it, gave me nothing for it as usual. I stripped the car of all my shit. And that car, I think I found it like 2 years ago, down south somewhere, and somebody had gotten the car, because I remember I had a certain tan color, holes in the bumper, that typical bullshit. The car looked really cool. Pictures of it, I only have like 2 pictures of it, like actual like pictures, and unfortunately I don't have like any like pictures like on a camera, like you know, like a whatever camera, digital camera that I know of anyways. I could have it on my computer from when I was a teenager, but yeah, I think I found that car, and I think somebody like VIN swapped it and did all kinds of shit. But anyways, that's another story. So yeah, Civic, did all that shit, crashed it, ended up getting another one. You know, been racing around forever, ended up painting it blue. I wanted to paint it black, but then everyone talked me out of painting it black because black required so much body work and this and that and the third. And I should have just painted it fucking black because black's the shit. You know what I mean? So around that time is when YouTube came out. At this time, MySpace days were in full effect. This is when Facebook, you had Facebook only if you were in college and you used it for like the college shit, which is, I mean, in my opinion, that's actually really cool. So we had that. So I ended up crashing the car, swapping it into another car, and then I bought a nitrous kit for it. I had a Zex nitrous kit, you know, the cool purple bottle shit, like old school shit. Real easy to hook up. Hooked it up in, you know, a couple hours. Filled the bottle up. Just knocked the timing back on the distributor a little bit. Did like an 80 shot wet, roughly. We're not exactly sure because the pills that were in there, who the fuck knows. 80 shot dry. Changed a little tune to the computer, and then just started racing these motherfuckers out here. And it ran pretty good on nitrous. And then after that, I fucking turboed it. This is like a year's time span, several years. I ended up turboing that car, which turboing it, that motherfucker, it ran. And I mean, it was like the worst turbo kit. eBay T3, T4 on a fucking B16. Didn't even hit boost to like 5,500, 58, but the car revved like 9 Gs. So I mean, like, it didn't matter, but then it did matter because the car was dog shit slow otherwise. And it ended up making like 250 wheel at 11 pounds at like 7,000. Because the guy that was tuning it local in the dyno, whatever, ended up getting a whole bunch of bullshit with the fucking guy. So basically, had he tuned it the rest of the way like he was supposed to, 300 wheel at 9,000, no question. Like, that was like, boost was starting to come on and like pull, like the car was fucking sweet. I ended up, so like that happened, and you know, that was cool. And I did this being broke the whole time. So like, I constantly had to like borrow money from other people to pay them back as soon as possible to get shit, to buy shit, you know what I'm saying? So like, I've always had to like work more, try to hustle, try to buy, try to sell, try to trade anything that I had. But back then I didn't really have much, and my skill set was only really working on cars. So I would try to like maybe work on someone's car for like fucking pennies, you know what I'm saying? To like try to get shit done. And like all I did was just try to get one car. And like back then I was building just one car, and like them shits were cheap back then in comparison to today. Today's bills, today's cars, today's prices, today's everything. So like that was cool and everything. And you know, there's so much shit, I'm trying to like keep it going, you know what I'm saying? So what else? So yeah, I end up getting into a position where I could get a loan. So I got the fucking loan, right? And it was cheap, and the loan was cheap enough. And with the loan, I bought my R32. And that was, I think, in 2009 or it was in 10. Either way, I don't remember. But I remember I bought the car, and it was like 6 or 8 months later before I actually got a car and title and everything. And funny story about that car, the day I got title in hand, at the DMV, registered, insured, all the bullshit, we go street racing in Orlando with the Honda boys that fucking night. Yo, that shit was ridiculous. And I mean that in a bad way. At the time, in the 2000s, I'm gonna say actually, in the 2000s, street racing was a huge thing. Because of Fast and the Furious and because of all the bullshit, everybody was constantly street racing and crashing and all this fucking shit constantly. And it was a big problem back then. This is actually before, obviously, the whole drifting bug started biting. Now everyone else problem is drifting and, you know, the sideshow shit that they got today. So back in them days, yo, like, if you got caught street racing, you got fucked up. Like, I knew people that got like jail time and like fines for like 10K and like reckless shit. You know what I'm saying? So I got the R32, and that night, like I said, we were out there. Now, again, this is, I think, iPhone 1 days, where if you had the iPhone 1, you was ballin'. And I had a flip phone because I was broke. I know, how can you be broke with an R32? Simple, because the fucking car is cheap, and the payment I was making was fucking cheap too. You know what I'm saying? That's how. My insurance company at the time didn't know what to classify the car for insurance-wise. Like, so what's it like? And I'm like, it's like this. And I gave him like a 240 or some dumb shit. So it was like not so expensive for insurance and shit. And yeah, there was that. So right around when I blew up the Civic, happened to be about the same time. I blew up the Civic Turbo because B16s don't take boost for long because the ring lands just end up falling in the oil pan. That or the tune I had was a piece of shit tune, and I melted the pistons. I'll never know because I never cracked that motor open. You know what I'm saying? But I do know it ran like absolute dog ass and dumped fucking oil out the exhaust constantly. Whatever. It was a cool little car. I spent a lot of money on that car. I'd actually like to buy it. I actually sold it to the guy I used to work for, and I wouldn't mind buying it back. Dude, if I'm honest, I wouldn't mind buying it back, depending on how much he'd sell it for, if he would sell it. He likes to hold on to shit too. So that night we race. I don't race anybody because I had, it's right-hand drive. I'm learning to drive right-hand drive visually, physically. I don't know the car that well yet. You know what I mean? I'm just driving the car and like it feels cool because it's fucking turbo. But compared to the Civic, it was dog shit slow. Stock RB20 on like stock boost. I think technically I had a small boost leak, so like upped it just like a little bit. So, and then the exhaust, I never knew, but the downpipe was broken like the whole time. It's like, I'm like, the car sounds cool. I can hear the turbo whistling constantly. It's not like my Civic. But the Civic had like lightweight flywheel, so it revved really fast, really easy, and like, it was a bad little bitch. And then the RB20 was like this big, sluggish, slow revving fucking motor with no fucking balls, but like it felt good. Like it had a good torque curve, so like always felt really nice. So I didn't race nobody. I knew it was fucking slow. Like I knew any Honda would had anything worth its salt would have fucking handed that car's ass. I fucking knew it. It was about as fast as like an 07 Civic Si. You know what I mean? Like mid 14 car at best. Like you're putting in a lot of work to get it there. You know what I mean? So we go racing, and we go to the first spot. Cops show up. Now there's like a fucking 100 Hondas, and everyone's driving like a fucking asshole, hauling ass everywhere, and they're street racing reckless. Like they're doing it so fucking reckless, and I completely understand why there's crashes, why there's accidents, why it's such a big problem, why people are getting fucking hurt so bad. Now it makes sense, right? So we go to the first spot, 5-0 shows up, we leave. Go to spot number 2. Now, keep in mind, I was with a group of friends, and we all knew how to get to the meeting spot, not to the actual spots for racing. So I go to the first spot and get kicked out. Go to the second spot, I get locked up. Police wrote me and like 25, 30 other cars off, cut us off in the street. I'm the last one in the line of all my friends. Happen to not be the one. My buddy fucking did that ultimate dare move when the cop pulled out in front of him. He said, fuck that shit. And he almost literally scraped the cop car and the curb to get past him, and the cop almost hit him. So, guns drawn, the full 9, it was out there, it was wild as shit. So I get a ticket, and I make sure, at the time I had yellow HIDs in the car, 2500K, so like dark yellow and shit. So I turned my headlights off and turned my high beams on. So I turned my lights back on, my lights would look normal. And I was trying to avoid the light ticket because it was more expensive than an exhaust ticket, because an exhaust ticket is a fix-it ticket. The light ticket is a fix-it ticket, but costs more if you don't fix it. So the exhaust ticket was more, and I was gonna fix the exhaust anyways. So I did that shit. We get the full 9. They have to write everyone tickets because no one's actually racing, but there was racing going on. You're kind of part of the group, but there's like fucking a million cars, whatever. So after that, we leave. We have no fucking idea where we're going. So what happens? We're like, all right, fuck it, we're going home. We don't know where we are. So we ended up driving where we thought was back towards Cocoa Beach area, somehow ended up in Tampa. Like Tampa fucking beach, like all the way out, like the complete opposite direction from where we're living. And me and the guy in the car, like, yo, how the fuck did we get here? So on the highway, we're driving around, we have no idea where we're going. Officer is driving on the highway with us, slows down, pulls me over, and I'm just like, what the fuck? He goes, yo, he's like, you know, your car is elite. He's like, you know, you have yellow headlights in your car, you can't be having that. And I'm like, yo, we're lost. I don't know where the fuck we are. I already got a ticket earlier for my exhaust. I'm like, it's not looking good. Mind you, at this point, it's like 3 in the morning. So it's not looking good for us, you know what I mean? This is also the days where I first started carrying my guns with me in the cars and shit too. So like, he pulls us over, all that bullshit, whatever. What happens after that? He's like, all right, I see you're having a rough night. I'm like, yeah, man. He tells us how to get back, but he doesn't exactly tell us the right way per se, but like the general way. We get lost again, end up in the same area again, but just different zone. We ended up finding a main road that runs from one side of Florida to the other. That's like 50-mile-an-hour road, just dumb slow. We go, yo, if that's the road, we're just gonna take that all the way back till we get home. We get home and this fucking sun comes up. You know, that was a cool night. It was rough. So that was like the very first day the R32 was legal. You know, titled, registered, insured, everything, done, like all that shit. That was a cool story. So yeah, so I'm out there, I'm living on my own. Gotta have roommates because I can't afford to rent. I mean, you know, I can't afford nothing, honestly. You know what I'm saying? So I always had roommates and shit. And the roommate shit helped, you know what I mean? So in the R32 days, I learned to drive right-hand drive, and I learned to drift in my R32. So that's why today, naturally, to hop into a right-hand drive car and drift, for some reason, just kind of feels more comfortable than a left-hand drive car. Not that I've been driving normal left-hand drive cars my whole life until I got my R32. My R32 is my daily driver, pretty much from when I got it. I did have it for sale originally when I first got the car to try to like get an R32 GTR. And it never worked out, so I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm keeping the car, no big deal. You know, I spent a lot of money in that car, I did a lot of shit to that car, as you've seen or haven't seen, whatever. So I learned to drift, and when I was learning to drift, interestingly enough, Forza, you can drift in Forza, but there's no drifting in Forza. It's like Forza 2 or something, I forget which one it was exactly. So I actually learned kind of how to drift in Forza, and then applied a lot of that to real life. And you know, by then, like, YouTube was out, and like you could find the Drift Bible video from DK, from Keiichi Tsuchiya, you know what I'm saying? So if y'all don't know what that is, that's like the old school drift video days where he's teaching you how to learn the techniques that'll really build a solid foundation for you. And then by this time, I'm hanging out with like Mark Slot and shit. Like by this time, like, it's a daily basis. We're hanging out all the time. So we're drifting, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing whatever. And back in them days was tire diving days because we couldn't afford tires all the time. So I was not affording anything. I could only go drifting if I had tires and gas. So like, you know, it was a lot of tire diving just to find anything. Luckily I was rocking 17s, so you could always find 17s back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But yeah, so I learned how to drift from that, and back in those days, you didn't really mod the car. As long as it worked, you learned to drift. You modded the driver, not the car. You didn't go, oh, well, I don't know how to throw backies in the car for shit. Let me get an angle kit, and now I'm a backies fucking master. You modded the driver, which means you had to get yourself leveled up. You know what I mean? So like when you're out there street drifting and doing all that shit, you couldn't blame it on the car. Oh, this car sucks, that's why it doesn't drift. No. You suck. You can't drift. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, that's still back in them days where, you know, where everybody, everybody had balls. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? No one was a bunch of bitches. So like, yeah, like you get good or just don't, you know what I mean? So I learned how to drift in the R32, And mod wise, ended up slowly getting like, I got little front tension arms. I got, what else did I get? Subframe bushings, the slip-on joints, which are actually still in the R32 today. No, I lied, I put them in my 240. When I got the 240, I put them in my 240. And I had like adjustable, then eventually I got adjustable lower, all the rear control arms and shit eventually. But you modded the driver, not the car. And when you modded the car, today, everyone, they build cars and they're gotta fucking have all these things in the car, and like, you don't have to have all that shit in your car. Back in them days, you just drifted what you had. And if you bought control arms, you would put them all exactly stock where they were, and you'd put them on the car because it changed the way the car feels. So you wouldn't do like, oh, well, I'm gonna put on the control arms, I'm gonna go zero camber, zero toe, and this and a third, whatever. Going from like, let's just say you're slammed, so like you're negative cambered and you're like lightly towed in probably, you'd basically put your links on, your new links on the exact same way your original ones were. And then you go out and drive and the car would feel totally different from that, right? So one time I did that exact shit. I had done the rear control arms and I adjusted 2 of them at once. I just like 2 of them, did all kinds of shit, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, this should be awesome. And I was going backwards in every single corner ever. And it fucking sucked. And I hated the car. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I do this? Why do I suck so bad? You know what I mean? It's like before I had like the skill, more of the skill, I should say. Like, 'cause you're still like learning, and like you're in your first few years and shit. So whatever. Eventually, one day it kind of just clicked for me, like how to control the car. But I drove the car a daily driver. I drove it every day. And then eventually I went from LSD to welded diff to make it easier to drift. Because LSD was just, we'd go street drifting, you'd throw the car into a corner, and in the first corner, it would be unlocked at first, it would lock in the corner, you'd adjust for its locking, and then you couldn't really mange down the street per se, because as soon as you lifted throttle, manging down the street to modulate your manji, it would unlock the diff again. And you're like, oh sweet, back to one wheel peel, you know what I mean? So it was inconsistent. So I learned to drive a lot better, faster, right after the diff got welded. And when I went drifting, when I was first learning, I wouldn't just go ham. I would literally just start first gear. And this is the compound days too. This is before the compound got blown up by fucking everybody and their mom's brother, before the compound was destroyed, before people just left trash everywhere at the compound. These are compound days when the compound was clean. There was no holes in the roads. There was no holes in the dirt everywhere. It wasn't trash. It was like nice, you know what I mean? So, these are back in the days. Way back in the days. And whenever I would go, I would practice like one thing at a time to get more and more like used to it. And then eventually I got to the point where I could link the sweeper, and like it was still a struggle to link the sweeper every pass, but I was now going from practicing just going in one direction on one little horseshoe to doing it in second gear and then doing it the other way. So like it was obviously a learning curve, right hand drive also being way different. And everyone that I knew that knew how to drift, I'm like, they go, yo, let me drift your car, let me try your car, go ahead. And they drift it, and they were able to drift it, but it was hard for them. They're like, yo, like my whole depth perception, like the size of the car feels way crazy. Like it felt like crazy for them, or for me, because it was my daily driver and I was driving it all the time and like drifting it and like learning the car and drifting at the same time, it was normal for me. You know what I mean? Getting into their cars felt like how they felt getting into a right-hand drive car. So like that was kind of a different little scenario. But yeah, I would only practice one thing at a time, and I would build myself up, kind of like how the Drift Bible would show you to do. And yeah, with all that shit, we just kept getting a little bit better. And luckily, also by then, like Mark's a lot and everybody else that was in the group at the time, they were all generally better drivers. So it was easier to see, okay, you can do it like this. I can do that. They can do it. I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you can make it, I can make it. So, it was that type of shit too. So I got better and better and better. And then, eventually, we started doing not competitions. Back in the day there was CFRC, and CFRC was Central Florida Racing Complex. So CFRC was like there's OSW like there's now, but OSW was like way more expensive, and CFRC had an 1/8 mile drag strip with a skid pad. OSW, you did only the bank shit, and back in the day OSW wasn't all concrete in the center. It had an X in the middle of it and it was very thin, and you did like the banks and shit then. I didn't really know about the OSW days. I wasn't around for those, the early ones. I was around for the beginning of CFRC. CFRC's first few events were bales of hay in a giant parking lot, and you parked in the parking lot, and the bales of hay would determine where you shouldn't cross as a spectator, and cars would just fucking drift in a P shape, right? So technically speaking, if a car ate mad shit, somehow going too fast, which your run up was like first and second gear, you know what I mean? So like you weren't like really hauling that much ass, and like you shouldn't really be able to get like that much out of control, but it was still a little sketchy, so reckless. And that was cool as fuck, man. Like cars were sick, and you know, driving was sick, and that was like the We Drift days, you know what I mean? Like that's where We Drift kind of got more known from, was from those days where we had sick painted cars, which my R32 was just black. Wasn't anything cool about my car. My car was just like really low on the wheels, and like that was it. Because that's all I could really afford, you know what I'm saying? And like their cars were, you know, body kit and fucking paint and wheels looking sick and sound nasty, and like, you know, SRs with S15 turbos in them, like the hot shit, right? Yeah. So like the CFRC days were really cool because, you know, like if one of the cars got crashed that Saturday at CFRC, it would be that week you would get the parts you need, fix it, repaint the whole car or that spot, and come back out next weekend for the next weekend's event ready. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how we did it all the fucking time. So sick driving, sick cars, you know what I'm saying? Like all that shit. As far as drifting goes, my first time at CFRC was in the rain, and I couldn't afford to go, so a local kid ended up going in like the local car community's pockets, everybody, $1, $2, $5, and got money up for me to go drifting my first event ever, which was really cool. And then I wasn't a really good driver then. I sucked still. I was still learning how to drift at that time. And then my next drift event was when the place got concrete barriers and it got bigger, which was awesome, because like when it got bigger, it was so sick. It was such a sick place. And it got bigger again from that later on, but it was, at this time it was still the P shape. No, it was big enough to where they ran the P a different way. They were able to run, instead of running the P just straight down, go around the corner, and then come back out the way you came, you could now go in, you'd come around the P shape all along the backside, flick it, come back around and go out. So it's like a, you know, what, spaghetti noodle, whatever you want to call it. And if you go on YouTube right now and you type in Skyline wall slap, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what you type in. Should be like the first video, like one of the top 3 videos. And that was my first pass that day at CFRC. So if you were there that day, I still have that R32. That's still a car I have now. That's the car. So everyone that knew me from way back then, back in them years, like back in them days, that's how we met, like Pat Gooden, Hart from Hoonigan and shit. Like those were like such old days. That was before Pat went like into pro. That was when he was doing pro-am. Like that's when Hart was, before he did Beard Life just yet. Like these are like way back in the day shits, you know what I'm saying? So like, I say Pat Gooden, I don't know, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So like these are like way back in the day shits, right? And it was, you know, it was a different vibe back then. Like everyone seemed cooler, less cliquey, you know what I'm saying? Everyone like had more love for the cars, kind of like Japan does, I guess you'd say in a way. And I liked the environment, it was just really cool. But yeah, type in Skyline wall slap on YouTube and it should pop up. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool because like in the entry I spun out because I went from having like a 10.5-inch wheel to like a fucking 7-inch wheel in the back. So my entry, I'm like, whoa, there's no back there. I'm like, oh shit. So on entry, I felt the car, how the change was. And then from there, I figured it out right on entry after I spun out. And then from that, I fucking linked it up. And all day long, I kept tapping the fucking concrete barrier. I still have that chunk missing out of I still have the original bumper and that dent in that R32 right now. And that's how people knew me back then. They're like, yo, like, you're drifting a Skyline, like this, that, and the third. I'm like, it's still a car though. Like, there's tons of these cars, they're just not here in the US. I'm like, so technically if you wanted to buy another one, you could still get one. Which, I never wanted to crash the car. Let's just be real, let's be honest here. I never wanted to crash the car. But like tapping the wall wasn't a big deal. You know what I mean? Rubber, not rubber bumper, factory plastic bumper, so like it had give to it, you know what I'm saying? So that was really cool. So like that's how people knew me back then. That's how I met a lot of people, you know, like I know today, is from those days then. And you know, things slowly, you know, they progress, you know what I'm saying? And eventually, that's also actually, believe it or not, I know Chelsea never does remember that shit ever, but I actually years ago met Chelsea DeNofa at an XDC event, and XDC was Extreme Drift Championship or some shit, and I think it was like in Florida and like Georgia and like a couple other states, and that's back in his like Philly days when he was in Philly. And I remember that event, you know, you're going there to watch, not compete. And I remember that event specifically because you're watching cars all day long drifting on practice, and this nigga come in hot, boy. Like you would see in Japan today, hot. Like D1 Street Legal 2012, full backwards entries, like this motherfucker came in hot, and he would drive so aggressive and so gangster compared to everybody else. I'm like 90% sure he won that day too. And I'm like, wow, that motherfucker's bad as shit. And it wasn't until he ended up moving to Florida and working at BC is when I ever even heard of him again. I'm like, oh shit, that's that fucking guy, you know what I'm saying? Like we knew Pat Gooden because like Pat was a local in the county that I live in, and he had a LS1 S13 coupe, a white one, which he took that car, I believe, also into pro for his first few years too. Again, the days of pro when you can have 500 horsepower and be competitive. So it was different times. But yeah, like that's how I met Pat back in the day, and Pat used to, you know, hang out in Mark, and like a lot of the local drift guys, they used to drift and shit together back in the day. So like, that's how I met like, a lot of those guys. And Hart was working at Njuku. That's back in his Njuku days, and he started Beard Life, and he blew the fuck up on Beard Life, and after that went to Hoonigan from there. I mean, it's like, that's how long ago this shit was, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was cool as fuck, you know what I'm saying? So that, just CFRC, the whole vibe was sick, because like NOS Energy Drink sponsored this shit, so like you wouldn't pay for NOS Energy Drinks. There'd be a full event and you could just get a drink for free. Disgusting fucking, sorry NOS. To drink those drinks in the hot Florida sun, you need water. It's fucking hot out there, yo. Like, you need water. I ain't talking shit about NOS drinks. They actually probably taste really good. I don't really drink that type of stuff. Got my tea right here, I drink my water, you know what I'm saying? So that was really cool back in the days. So after that, I have what I call the downfall of my R32. I had quit my job at the performance shop. I needed to make more money, and because quitting was more money than not having a job, it made no sense. You know what I'm saying? Fucking idiot. So I quit my job, trying to get a different job, didn't work out, so I just started hustling. And at the same time, Mark's a lot also didn't have a job at that time either. So we hustled, bought, sold, traded, all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? If we had some shit for sale, and we wanted it, you know, but I couldn't afford it, like, I'd be like, yo, I got this. He'd be like, all right, cool, boom, you know, trade. Or sometimes someone would be like, yo, I got this gun for trade. I'm like, yo, fuck yeah. Guns are always worth money. So I'd trade for whatever for a gun, and then, you know, just trade the gun for some other shit later, you know, cash or some other shit later. So it was cool times. So the downfall of my R32 was I quit my job, so I had no real income coming in anymore. and I was just buy, sell, trade, whatever I could, services and then parts and stuff like that. So I did a lot of that shit, and yeah, them days, boy. So I was doing a lot of that, and for some dumbass reason, I go, I want to compete, and I want to compete in my R32. And I sold the gas tank out of that car. I cut the fucking trunk out of that fucking car. I cut the front core support out, not where the headlights bolt, but just in the center where the radiator bolts. Because I'm like, yo, if you have to pull the motor, you don't have to lift it up so high. You can just lift it up a little bit and just skew out the front. But there's a fucking radiator still in the way, you dumbass, right? So if you pulled the radiator out, you know what I'm saying, then you can lift the motor up a little bit and just slide it in and out, which, you know what I'm saying, which is kind of cool, I guess, but now I have a fucking gap and I have to make plates for a radiator somehow, stupid fucking idiot. So, yeah, that was the downfall of that car, and I had an RB20 in it and ended up blowing the head gasket, and I pulled it out with the original intention of fixing the head gasket, cleaning up some things, and then putting new seals, new shit, and then just putting it right back in. And then that was when the engine spiral happened. And then at one point I had my RB20, I had an RB25, I had a 5.3, I had two NA2Js. I had a Turbo 1J. I think I had something else too, to be honest, but I forget what it was. Well, I had so many fucking motors, like who the fuck knows? That shit's retarded, right? But that 1J that I had is actually, if you know who Camel is, that 1J is actually the motor that's in his 240 today. So like, these are some shits that I've had forever. And I remember I sold everything, I got rid of all that shit to try to get money up to keep fixing the R32. And that's when the R32 became a Christmas tree. So I kept the RB25, and then I would just buy stuff for it, like here and there. I bought a clutch and flywheel, and then I bought a turbo manifold, and then I bought an intake manifold, and I bought it this, and I bought it that. And I just kept buying shit for the car that didn't involve really getting it back to fucking running. And I had stripped the whole fucking car. I stripped the fucking wiring out of it, and I redid the wiring, did all kinds of shit. And the car ended up sitting for so long that I forgot what I even done to it, where I even started from. So like, that's where it's currently today, even. So there was that. And if I really wanted the R32 back, like I keep telling myself, I would have spent all my money, all my time fixing that car and making that car back to running. But instead, ended up getting, over the years, I got I had a Grand Marquis again for a little bit, because a good deal was cheap. And then I had a Lexus LS400 for a minute. And then I had my 86 Regal. I had an 86 Buick Regal. I had a bunch of other cars here and there. I forget exactly all the different cars I had. I had like EG Coupe that I got in trade. I had a 92 Honda Accord at some point. Like, those are all buying, selling, trading cars. And then during the whole time of when I had no job, Mark's and I had no job, I think personally that we are responsible for the 240 flood in parts, because in the, I want to say 2012 to 2014 range, if there was a 240 for sale, like anywhere in Florida, we bought it. Like, we bought them shits, and we'd strip them down and we'd sell you all the parts off them, because everyone's crashing the shit out of 240, so there was parts to be sold at all times. Quarter panels, window glasses, hatches, all hatches are rusty, but some are less rusty than others. You know what I'm saying? Like, front clips, we'd sell, like, you just buy them, fucking sell them, whatever you wanted off them, and then like constantly. And I think we did like 18 or 20 240s. Like, we did a lot of them. It's like, I personally feel like we're responsible for like the parts flood. And like, that's why parts then were so cheap. That was like the golden age of like the 240 shit still, when the parts were like mad cheap. So, after all that, I had a bunch of cars, and it had been a few years since I had my R32 running, and all I had was my truck. So that was my very first truck. I had a 01 Chevy Silverado Z71, really piece of shit truck, but like worked very well. We never had a problem. So like, we constantly towed with my truck and his Tahoe all over Florida. We never had a problem ever. So Chevy's the way to go, you know what I'm saying? But which is why I have, you know, GMC and Chevys now for trucks. I mean, Fords are gangster trucks, don't get me wrong, but like, yo, I mean, Dodges are badass too, but I'd just be fucking with the Chevys, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up being really tired of just driving my truck all the time and the R32, and ended up selling my truck. And instead of being smart and going, I'm gonna sell my truck, make my R32 run, I sold my truck and bought a right-hand drive 180SX clip. And we had 2 leftover 240s, and I have like the whole background of one of my videos of the 240, so I'm not gonna get too far into it, but basically I sold my working truck that made me money to do the 240 shit. And you see where the 240 went, you know, from stock body to, you know, body kit, and then wides, and then big wheels, and then you know, S15 front, and then painted black finally, and then later on doing the built motor and top mount, all that shit. So, and straight crazy enough, all that happened. Now I'm working at the restoration company that I work for right now, which actually, technically speaking, I actually am now working at the Cape. But last 7 years I worked at the restoration shop. So we did classic car restoration, full restorations. Not that half-ass bullshit restoration, no, like cars come stripped down to absolute zero. Everything gets blasted, painted, every single piece, every nut and bolt is brand new. The engine's rebuilt, interiors are brand new, rebuilt, like everything's brand new, rebuilt. So classic car restoration. And I don't mean like $50,000 restorations, I mean like $350,000 restorations, like big money, big real shit. And like these cars win the biggest awards in the country when they're done. Classic cars, like classic car awards, like cars are absolutely meticulous, like, you know, body work is dead straight, dead smooth, like you've never seen paint like that, you know what I mean, like for the most part. So that's the shit I've been doing for like the last 7 years. So like people that always ask me over the years, you know what I'm saying? So I did like body work and paint prep work for like the last 7 years. So I'm making shit like gang, nice as fuck. That's why like when we do our cars, like we can get them nice and quick, you know what I mean? Which all my personal cars were nice, but they were not ultra nice, because like I never chase perfection, like I've said before. I don't chase perfection on them because I know I'm gonna beat them up and destroy them and have to fix them again anyway. So what's the point of chasing the perfection if you're gonna damage it anyways, you know what I mean? So that type of shit. So yeah, anyways, in 2017, I think personally was probably my craziest year, where 2016 into New Year's of 2017, I spun a bearing in my SR, completely my fault, and so my 240 was down. I had my LS400, I had my Lexus then, and my Regal. So those are the 2 cars I was driving. More the Lexus than anything, because the Lexus got like 20 or like low 20s to the mile to the gallon. It's a really nice car. Yeah, it was smooth. LS400 was a shit. 98 LS400. So in 2017, I had been saving up money for years to go to Japan. I've always wanted to go. So I went to Japan in April to go see D1 Grand Prix. And that was in Odaiba, that was cool. Went to Tokyo, visited all the cool shops, BR Racing. I went to Yoshio Factory. Where else did I go? Went to Spoon, went to Type 1. I went to Type 1, not Spoon. I couldn't find Spoon's shop, which apparently is down the street, but I couldn't find it, whatever. Visited Japan, absolutely amazing country, fucking awesome place. And I had to see all the car prices there versus how, like, this was the R32 Skyline shit was booming here. And everyone's overpaying by like a lot for their shit here, and I'm seeing all like the prices over there. So like, you know, people are making a killing on that shit, but you have to have money to put it up. Anyways, so like in 2017 alone, like went to Japan, saved the money for years to go. Went to Japan, bought the GTR shell, had to borrow money to buy that. Had to borrow a lot of money to buy that. Luckily, one of my homies was cool enough to let me borrow that money up. That's also the same year I bought my G37. What else? I did a lot of shit. Like, and then I built the SR that time too. All in 2017. End of 2017, beginning of 2018, roughly, was also when we did the We Drift 2 video. So we actually had the first We Drift video back in the day. That's when I drove my R32 daily driver, and I already knew how to drive back then. We did the We Drift 1 video, which I don't know where it is technically. I think it's on Vimeo, to be honest. And on Vimeo, you would type in We X Sway, and I think that's how it comes up. I don't exactly remember. We collab with somebody, you know, the typical bullshit always happens. We try to make a video, whatever. So 2018, I believe it was, is when we were shooting. Yeah, 2018 is like we shot for We Drift 2 for like 6 months. Like that was a long time. And if you were able to, I would watch the video then. My early segments of my 240 drifting was pussy because I was still like relearning the motor, not wanting to break it again, the breaking in the motor too. And like towards the end of the video, that's when I was getting nasty at the 240. That's when I had the GK angle, the knuckle mods and shit. And I was learning how to drive more angle and change the way the car felt. So I had to like relearn how to drive the car and like all kinds of shit. And like I was getting the hang of the car more and more and more, and I was starting to swing it more and more and more and better and better and better. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like as the video progressed, like my driving with the 240 also progressed because I drove it more and more. That was an expensive video at the time too. We went through so many tires and like gas and like out late in the street and like doing all kinds of shit, you know what I'm saying? So that was cool. So then, you know, I moved again to where my current house is now, closer to work at the time now. Just kept doing this shit, you know, kept buying parts for so I bought parts. So in 2017, I bought the GTR, and from 2017 until 2020, I had just been straight buying parts for that car. And it's so expensive. Like the windshield cost me $860. You know what I mean? Like I caught a deal on 2 doors, and I think I paid $2,500 for 2 doors. And that was loaded doors without mirrors and without door panels. Like that was like a fucking deal, because like a loaded door was like $2,500 a door, and that was like from mirror to door panel at the time. The prices varied. What they're at now, couldn't exactly tell you because the price for everything have gone up after COVID, obviously. So it took me like 3 years to like buy parts of that car. And like that same time, like Mark Slot was building his, so all the parts he bought for his car, if he found different ones that he wanted later, I was able to buy different ones he didn't want after that. So like he bought this lip, I was like, I don't really like it. You know, I'm gonna buy a different one later. I don't like the way it looks. Okay, cool. So when he bought another lip, I'd buy that lip from him. So like it kind of worked for both of our favors. His next lip that he bought didn't cost him so much, and I got a lip for a good deal too. You know what I mean? Like we did a lot of that, and then like I found like I had a lot of deals here and there and shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there was a lot of that. So yeah, the GTR took me several years to buy parts for, and then COVID hit here in Florida, which COVID in Florida only lasted a month. So it's like, which I know a lot of you other states were like getting fucking hammered by that shit, which is dumb as shit. So yeah, COVID hit, and during COVID is when the GTR was born. I had never made more money than I ever had. It's like $1,000 a fucking week practically. You know what I'm saying? During COVID. So like I made like 4 G's that month. You know what I mean? So like during that time, I'm just like, yo, fucking order up all the parts I fucking need. Fuck it. Because like you couldn't really go out to eat, so you could stay home, eat dumb cheap, and then like, you know what I'm saying? Like still have things delivered to your house still. So we were just doing that, and fucking car went from being a fucking shell to a running fucking car. And it took us from when I brought the car over, for when Mark picked the car up, whatever, from when we brought the car over to when we actually started it, I actually had like 95% of the parts. From that moment, it took us like a week. So in a week, I went from nothing to driving the car. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking sick. A lot of work. Like, the amount of work's fucking ridiculous, like to do all that shit. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like it was just cool, yo. It was cool. So yeah, like, you know, and then like obviously you seen like, you know, I'm drifting at PBIR and I crashed my car, and then like, you know, like we do OSW events and shit now. So like that's like a light. This is like the lightest version of kind of like my background and like all that shit. So like, you know, from skateboarding and BMXing to, you know, turning into cars, and then just like I tell people, I don't live a hobby, I live a car lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about normal shit. Fuck beach days, fuck going to the movies. What else? You know, just fuck all that shit. I would rather stay home and buy money or spend money on my cars. Like video games don't cost you shit in comparison to cars. You stay home, play video games for fucking free, and save money to go work on your cars. So I have always been working extra, working late, working overtime, buying, selling, trading, flipping, you know what I mean? Like, I've always been doing that, you know what I mean? And I haven't stopped since I was like, I don't know, like 16, you know what I mean? I've been trying to do this shit since I was 16 years old. It's been a long time, you know what I mean? So it's like a general background, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's cool shit. You know, that's like my general background. Like, there's so much more I could go into, so much more depth and so much more shit about so many things, you know what I'm saying? But like, for this purpose, you know, that's like it. This is like the interview. What's up, baby? You know what I'm saying? I see you over there. So that's like the interview type shit of like my background. If you've made it this far, go ahead and leave a comment in the shit. If there's a specific part of my whole fucking, probably it's an hour-long rambling bullshit, if you've watched this far, leave a comment of anything that you would like to talk about more, or who else you might want to see me actually like maybe do an interview and like them kind of tell like how it was for them and like how like their background, their story. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You could get Steve Will Do It on here. You know what I'm saying? Or Adam LZ for you know, for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, if to get like Steve Will Do It on here, you'd have to like blow his shit up. You know what I'm saying? And that's assuming you actually made it this far in the video. So yeah, dog. Yeah, we're gonna be out here. I'm gonna try to get some of the homies on here, like Mark Slot and shit like that too. It'd be kind of cool to do like a podcast scenario type shit, but I'm not gonna like bank on something like that. Like, oh yeah, for sure, because to do this is by myself. You know what I mean? So I can do this like whenever I want. So if there's like, hey, tell me more about your fucking Civic days when you were younger. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? I could give you some shit from back in them days. You know what I mean? So I appreciate all you motherfuckers watching my shit. When I crashed the GTR, that really fucking sucked. I very much appreciate a lot of you reaching out like, yo, you gonna come back and be stronger. You know what I'm saying? Because like when I crashed that car, I'm just like, it was rough for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it cost me a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of sacrificing, a lot of overtime, a lot of effort, a lot of eating shit as usual. It's not fucking easy, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I appreciate all you motherfuckers that hit me up, you know what I mean? All you that support, I appreciate every one of you motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? And all them fucking haters out there trying to say my car's a G35 or a 370Z or a 240, yo, you're a fucking idiot or you're a hater. You know what I'm saying? You're just hearing the bullshit, just the hating ass bullshit, and you be spreading that shit. Fuck all that shit. That's another topic we're gonna bring up one day for another time. You know what I'm saying? That's another day. So I appreciate you motherfuckers. I'm gonna cut this shit off here, and that's gonna be it. I do have an OSW video coming up, and I have another video coming up. I actually have an OSW video. I need to edit, which can take me fucking forever to do that. And I have another video of doing, I think some body work to the GTR parts that I crashed up, or the new stuff that I bought. And I have probably some other shit too. So I have a bunch of other videos coming. I'm not gonna like just send them all out there right away. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all like this video, like it, and leave a comment in the description. Tell me that it was cool, you liked it, or man, it was long as fucking boring. Why the fuck you talking so much? Say some shit, you know what I'm saying? Without feedback from you, I don't fucking know. I'm just gonna keep doing the shit I keep doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I keep doing my shit anyways, but to keep y'all out here, keep y'all interested in shit. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. Who do you want me to interview next? You know what I'm saying? So, which interview won't be the man in the mirror this time. It'll actually be a person sitting in the chair, or we'll be at a shop somewhere. Maybe I go to their crib and set it up with them there. You know what I'm saying? So let me know. Leave whatever. I don't give a fuck if you like my shit. I don't care if you share my shit. Leave me the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. Tell me what's up. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I'm not gonna push you to like my shit. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I ain't gonna push you for that shit. If you like it, you're gonna like it. If you wanna share it, you're gonna share it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna push you. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Boom. So stay tuned for some more shit. I appreciate it. Be easy, bitches.